Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Massive results in the VALORANT world yesterday around the various playoffs and also preparation for the playoffs, certainly in the Americas side. Zellsis with a few words to say on exactly what Sentinels need to find themselves in order to qualify for the World Championship. But certainly in the Pacific, a new prodigy is on the scene and lots of discussion about whether this whole situation is fair and what might happen for his future. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into today. Firstly, well, some interesting stuff here between Boaster and Alpha on that Fnatic side. Of course, they're going to be at the World Championship, no problem at all, as are, of course, Gen.G. This was a big series for RRQ, not so much for Gen.G in the sense that even if Gen.G went out here, it was very likely they would still qualify for champions, but they needed to win just to make sure they'd guarantee it. Gen.G, they'd still be okay just because of the points they accrued if the guys qualified that would be expected to, but yeah, Caron and those other guys, they played well this series. The Haven was 13-8, and then it was 13-11, so fair play. We looked at this series briefly yesterday, but thought I'd just have another quick recap here because that meant that Gen.G officially qualified for VALORANT Champions, as did DRX, right? So without even winning a series, DRX, because Gen.G won, means that based on the championship standing points, Gen.G are in, and, they advanced through, and therefore, basically, it's impossible the way the bracket works for these teams not to make it. So DRX are going to be there, PaperX are going to be there, we'll see that in a second, and also certainly true for Gen.G. However, let's talk about talent again, because this has been one of the key storylines in World Valorant over the last few days. This player, Primmie, who has been known as a bit of a prodigy now around this region for some time, but they brought him in Talent Esports just before playoffs, and of course, a lot of pressure on this guy. We saw the other day some of his clips from Ranked and other games, like, clearly the guy is incredibly individually gifted, but coming into a team for the playoffs on the big stage, when the team needs a big performance in order to try and qualify for the World Championship, that is something completely different. And the fact that Primmie has just come onto the main stage and has basically performed exactly how he has been doing it for a long time now online is just actually kind of unbelievable and pretty terrifying for the rest of World Valorant if he can keep this up. I know that Zellsis compares him in a second to the Demon1 situation, what happened last year, and who knows what happens from here, right? But this was massive. Team Secret versus Talent Esports. The winner, of course, had a good chance here to try and make it to the World Championship. And yeah, game one, Primmie on the clove, 24-21, puts the team on his back type thing. And there was some discussion whether this is fair or not. I don't really see what the problem is precisely, right? Because you can bring him in at any time, other teams could have done the same thing, and the rules allows them to make a change before the playoffs. Now, it is always pretty tough when you get dropped before the playoffs after grinding the regular season, but it happens. That's the way the rules are. And yeah, putting the most cracked player without playing a regular season game, I guess that's the argument, right? That a player that hasn't played a single regular season game, should they be able to compete in the playoffs? I mean, I don't have a problem with it personally, but intrigued your thoughts in the comments. And also, if this was a rule for some reason, would be depriving World Valorant right now from watching what this guy's capable of. So there was some debate in it, obviously. We actually had some further debate as well from Com's father. We'll get into that in a second. But as a result of this, Talon qualified for champions. So we talked about the possibility of this. If Primmie hadn't come in, I don't think they make this happen. But that's exactly what happens. They 2-0'd Team Secret in the ends. Primmie was the standout player, over 300 ACS over the two maps, on the Clove, on the Jet, plus 10, and Team Secret go down in the ends, and they bow out of the tournament. And of course, their season is now done and dusted. Talent Esports advance, and this is how things presently look. So Talent Esports through to the second round in the upper semi-finals. They will get through to the World Championship, as will these other teams as well. As I initially had this up, Gen.G were up 1-0 against PaperX. Now that is more like 2-0. So Gen.G just 2-0'd PaperX. Pretty impressive fashion. Now, as I say, these teams are going to be there at Champions anyway, but nonetheless, a 13-10 ascent, a 13-5 on the icebox for Gen.G still shows they are the team to beat in this particular region. So these are the four teams. The three that we expected, PaperX, Gen.G, DRX. Apart from that, the other one was a bit of a question mark, and this is where Talent Esports with Primmie coming into play has been just so impressive for this team, and how can can they get on at the World Championship? This was the discussion, by the way, from Papa Com. So Com's father, of course, player for Leviathan, world champion from last year from that Evil Geniuses roster. And, you know, he questions the precedent this sets. Congrats to talent, but is this setting a bad precedent or good for the game by bringing in a player last minute for a tournament? Seems unfair for Team Secret. I don't know. Should there be a change in the rules? Seems like a borderline competitive advantage violation. So, okay, some discussion on this. I don't agree personally, but it's always good to keep it cordial. The thing is, he was kind of getting cooked in the replies, and, you know, people are talking about it anyway. So Com actually has to come out and defend his own father and say, because he was just getting roasted by people that were, I don't know exactly what goes into people's heads to just clown this guy. But, yeah, as Com says in the replies, love you, love Valorant, dislike the haters. So, yeah, hopefully people can do a bit better than that going forwards. This is from Ban as well, T1. They were one of the teams that could be in consideration, you know, with Munchkin and Ban, they're going to be there at Champions, and T1, of course, it's not going to be happening. Now that he's on Talent, of course, alongside Primmie, and, you know, they've made it all the way. So wanted to share a couple of clips here. Well, just this one really here from Zellsis, talking about what Sentinels need in order to make it through, because we've got to discuss the Americas in a second, and also what the Primmie situation is echoing compared to last year.
What do I think about Primmie? I have no idea. He looks good. He looks good. He reminds. I saw a tweet comparing him to Demon1 earlier, and it's pretty spot on. Just kind of a rookie that comes in and just like shoots people. What does it do for Sen if Crew beat C9? Okay, Crew beating C9 allows us to be 3rd seed if we lose the G2. But if Cloud9 beat Crew and we lose the G2, we're 4th seed. Are we guaranteed 2nd seed if we beat G2? Yes, if we beat G2, none of this matters. But we haven't beaten G2 yet, so why would you be 4th seed? Because G2 would have 7 wins, C9 would have 7 wins, meaning Lev 1st seed, G2 2nd seed, C9 3rd seed, we'd be 4th seed. No, EG can't qualify. Playoff teams are already set. As a friend, do I feel bad for FNS and SOM? Of course. Yeah, you get champs points for playoff wins. But us, Lev, and 100 Thieves have the most points anyway, and Lev is 1st seed, confirmed. So, like, it'd be really good for us to get 2nd seed. And then if we get 1st and 2nd seed, and then 100 Thieves just get knocked out, they probably make it by points anyway.
This was the other game, though, in the Americas, though, last night. So, Cloud9 versus Crew Esports. Now, both of these teams already qualified through for the playoffs. Not necessarily at all guaranteed the World Championship, right? And based on the amount of points these teams have, they will not be getting through as one of, like, the standings advances, really. It's going to be either Sentinels or probably 100T would be the teams that could advance through as the 4th seed based on the, you know, having the most points rather than making it through in the regular season playoffs and getting top 3. Cloud9 and Crew will have to get top 3 if they want to make it to the playoffs, and it was a 2-0 for Crew Esports. Now, if you guys are familiar with Crew's game, you will be familiar with the fact that they tend to run in cycles. They either win everything or they lose everything. Like, they lost all these series in a row, they then won 5 in a row at the Americas LCQ last year to make it to Champions, then they bombed out of Champions, lost everything in the off-season, came back this year, started 5 in a row, then they've lost everything since then. Now they've won again. So, you know, we'll see if they start going on another crazy win streak, because we've seen it before, and finally they get a win over the line. Pretty rough one for Cloud9 in a way, just from like a confidence point of view. It doesn't massively matter in terms of seeding and stuff, although, because they probably weren't going to get a top 2 seed anyway in the Americas, but I guess it was still possible, and this loss puts them to 6-4, Crew at 6-4, 100T now at 5-4, so yeah, they will be starting in that knockout elimination spot. Crew are guaranteed the 4th seed, by the way, as a result of this, going into the playoffs. I think, yeah, okay, Lev are already seeded in as the number 1 seed, and then Crew are going to be the 4th seed here, I think, guaranteed. But we just don't quite know exactly who they're going to play as of yet. But yeah, that locks up the 4th seed for them. Cloud9 is still going to be there, but obviously there was some talk about it, right? Because as Imi says, the coach of Cloud9, not good enough again. We're beating ourselves in a lot of situations. I know in interviews I'm hard on my players, but I'm also not perfect. Season's not over. So yeah, I don't think they want to get too down on themselves, Cloud9, but you know, we've seen this story before from C9. They'll make it to, you know, a tournament, they make it to a playoffs or whatever, and then when push comes to shove, it doesn't exactly go their way, and they're going to need Oxy to really probably fry and play well. Just one final thing to mention before we close out the video. NRG, had they just beaten Cloud9, as they should have done, if they didn't choke horrendously on that final map of the series, the 12-5 comeback or whatever it was, if they didn't choke that lead, then NRG would probably have made the playoffs, because what they required was the following, right? So this was talked about on July the 8th. If NRG 2-1 Cloud9, then this would happen. Either EG beat 100T, which didn't happen, or option 1 is possible, which is a crew 2-0 against Cloud9, which happens, 100T 2-1 against EG, and then EG beating MIBR. So all that would have to happen if NRG actually didn't bottle it embarrassingly badly was that EG just need to beat MIBR, which probably is going to happen. And if that happens, then NRG will be kicking themselves. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.
Team Secret, you realize too much time has passed. Our recon has ended. The Haunt comes back out, but they're still going to try to go in. A great miracle that finds everybody. And Jeremy on perfect timing. Wild Oreo there to trade as well. It's a great execute. It's clean. And the heals come back up. And so it's going to be Team Secret keeping everybody alive for the spike plant.
Were there, but the slide's in now, and Primmie holds the angle, trying to work alongside Jitboys, his old teammate, just to clear out some of the corners. That's the first headshot going through now. A second as he flicks on towards Jeremy's head. He blocks out Tree, holds down the angle, still has the smoke blocked off, and then a second smoke just to back him up. The triple kill going through. Envy with the shock out though, took down Jitboys, and now comes out to the peaks. Primmie just manages to make it work. Nail on the head to Envy. The quad picks up the pistol for Talon in the opening round.
We just saw it from Karen actually in the previous match, and we're seeing it from Primmie. Nerves be damned. I will win this round. Great at isolating all the 1v1s. Stays calm throughout all of it. Great support from Jitboys as well with that smoke.